Hello everyone, you are welcome to today's lesson. The first part of today's lesson is going to be a short one. And the main objective of this lesson is to walk you through the solution to the assignment that was given in the previous lesson. Okay, the assignment came in two questions. Okay, this one, which is question one and question two. So the solution that you have before you is that of what? Question one, A and B. So I'll walk you through the one, okay, then after that, do same for that of the two. But once I've gone through your submissions, as I walk you through the solution, I will make sure I address all the concerns, especially the major ones that came to bear from your various submissions. So please take and stay with me, okay, whilst I guide you through the solution and also I guide you towards do the marking. Because you can see that the solution equally is the same as the marking scheme. All right, so quickly, if you look at what we have there, we know you've been advised anytime we read question, we have to make it a point to underline the salient part in the quest, okay, to protect our mark. So let's see, find the solution set. So this is very critical. So we underline solution set of the equation 6x squared is equal to x plus 2 using A, the factorization method, B, the quadratic formula, then C, the method of completing the square. So let's quickly go and look at what the solution to question was 1A. And I've told you, after reading the question and underlining the salient part, the first thing that you write is solution. After solution, when the questions are normal, then it means we equally want you to normal accordingly and appropriately, meaning normal precisely. So the major question number here is 1. Okay, and okay, you are giving us the solution to the major question number 1 and the minor question number A. So you come and write A. After that, what do? You extract what you are giving. Okay, so in this case, I've been given 6x squared is equal to x plus 2, a quadratic equation. But A, I've been asked to use the factorization method. So I don't have to write, okay, using the factorization method because A specifically said that we are supposed to use the factorization method. So your steps is what will tell us, inform us that you are using this particular method. Okay, it's not necessary for you to write factorization using the factorization method, as I saw in some of your presentation. Okay, so that's not necessary. Going forward, okay, you go by this. So you extract, okay, after you've extracted, if you want to use the factorization method, what do? You have to make sure your equation, your given equation, is in the standard form. That is everything on one side equated to 0, making sure that your leading term, which is the coefficient of the x squared term, its coefficient is positive. So it means this requires that we move these two terms, okay, to this side. So if you move, this will be negative, this will also be negative, and it will be equal to. So at this point, we cannot start with equal to. If you started with equal to, then you are done marking. You will get only the B half, then it will be M0, A0, because we don't start introducing our steps when we are dealing with an equation or equations with what the equal to sign. Okay, so this time around, I'm going to be very stern. Okay, so strict. Okay, so M0, A0, if you introduce your step, first step here with what they equal to. Now, after this, what do we do? Okay, by the factorization method, we have to multiply the A. So let me pick the laser so that you can see clearly. You have to multiply the A, which is the coefficient of x squared, and the C. Okay, if you multiply, you are going to get what? Minus 12. So we need to look for factor pair of what? Minus 12. That's when you multiply, you get minus 12. And when we add, we'll get what? Minus what? 1. Okay, so your factor pair that you settle on must satisfy, okay, these two conditions. The multiplication should give you the product of 6 and minus 2, which is the minus 12. And the addition should give you what? The minus what? 1, which is the coefficient of the x. So in this case, once you know that the product is giving us negative, it means the factor pair that will settle on, one of them will be positive, one will be negative. And because the sum should give us what? Negative, it pre-informs us that, okay, the two factors that you are saying, the one will be negative, one will be positive, is the bigger one that must be what? Negative. So here we consider the factors 3 and 4, but one of them must be negative before the product should give us what? A negative number or a negative result. So in this case, 3 and 4, which one Okay, the bigger one is the one that must take negative, because if you sum, you are supposed to get a negative result. So it means you have to give the negative to the 4 and the positive, okay, to the 3. Take note. So in this case, you use your factor pair to split this. So it will be 6x squared plus, okay, someone can write minus 4x plus. The way you arrange these two, not really necessary. What is important is these two must, okay, be the middle term. The order in which you put them is not really very useful. Okay, so I decided to bring the 3, okay, x, because I realized that the 3 and the 6, they have something in common, and the 4 and what the 2 equally have. So that informed my arrangement. Otherwise, you could have done 4 and 3. Even with the 4 and 3, you can see that 2 will still be a factor. So it doesn't really matter. I guess my point is well made. So at this point, what do? You factorize, okay, by grouping. And I've told you, when you are factorizing by grouping, don't use bracket to group. Unfortunately, I have a couple of you who did that. So if you are one of those who use the bracket to group, again, it will be M0, A0. So when you group, you are done with your factorization. Take notes. All right. So at this point, group the first two and factorize. So you group the first two and factorize. You get 3x out, then in bracket 2x plus 1. Come and group the last two and factorize. So you get minus 2 out, okay, 2x plus 1. So now each two sum contains a common factor. So the total factorization of what we have here, the complete factorization, I should say, should be, okay, 2x plus 1, which is common to both then, into 3x minus 2. And that should be equal to 0. At every point stage, you should be dealing with what's equal to, an equation. So anywhere within your step that you don't see equal to 0, you don't see an equation, but you see an expression, you are doomed. Okay, all right. So at this point, your factorization, the marks there, you can see the marks allotted. So here we use the 0 product, we set each of the factor to 0, then what we solve. So set the linear factor here to 0. So it will be this is equal to 0. In that case, the bracket will not be necessary. This, okay, or, and the connector here is critical. Those of you who ignore the or, at this point, it will be M0, A0. Take note. So you will get, if you did everything right up here, you only get the marks up here. Take note. So I've addressed another major concern to guide you to mark. So you get this also equal to 0. Then you come and solve for your x. So you move this one here, -1. You write it again before you divide. Okay, so by 2. Come and do same here. Move this one here. You get 3x is equal to, write it again before you divide. And your next step after solving for your x, you know that you will land at the s value. But because the question asks you to find the solution set, your final answer must be in the solution set form. Okay, so in this case, we are going to get therefore, so that's where we draw our conclusion. X is such that s is equal to, so if you solve for this, x will be -1/2. Okay, if you solve for this, x will be equal to 2 on what? On 3. So this is what we have, okay, with respect to this particular situation. Now let's come to that of the what? Of the B. Okay, so the B, okay, is the same equation that we are asked to solve. So if you are able to extract the equation B half, okay, so then the method that we are supposed to use the quadratic formula. If you want to use the quadratic formula, again, everything must be on one side equated to 0, so that you can clearly see the value that will take your A, the B, and what? And the C. So you write your given equation in the standard form. Okay, and if you write the given equation in the standard form, now you are going to use the quadratic formula. So quote the formula. Because the equation is in x, so you write but x, because you'll be solving for x, will be equal to, and the formula says minus b plus or minus root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So at this point, you ask yourself, let the formula talk to you. Okay, in the formula, I will need these parameters, a, b, and c. So how do I get these parameters? And you know that you've written this equation in the form as squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So if you compare your A, you can do that as a rough work, or you can compare mentally and put the values there. So if you did that as a rough work must be here. You don't do it anywhere here. So A will be equal to what? The coefficient of x squared, which is 1. B will be equal to the coefficient of x here, which is -1. And C will be equal to what? The constant here, which is -2. So you go and substitute these values for A, B, and C into the formula. So, okay, equal to, the next step will be equal to Indirectly, you are still trying to say that x is equal to. So some of you decided to write the x throughout, but it's not necessary. Okay, you can avoid repetition. This is x is equal to. So if you come and write equal to, we know that what is up here is still for x. Okay, so you can write it or present it this way. So quickly, let me go and pick the laser pointer again. So if you substitute your A and B, and when you are carrying out your substitution, please make sure you put it in bracket. Your A is negative, so it will be minus negative 1. Okay, plus or minus root of what? Okay, minus what? Your, sorry, did I say your A? Your B, forgive me. This is your B. Minus into minus 1, that's your minus 1. Into, so you just substitute the values, just as you can see here. Okay, then now you go and simplify. Minus 1 times minus 1 will give you 1. Plus or minus root of 1 squared will give you 1. Then this will give you, if you multiply this, you get 48. So you are going to get, okay, 1 plus or minus root of, this will be 1 plus 48, which will give you 49. So root of 49 over 12. You can see the marks there, so I won't talk much about it. Okay, so that will be equal to, then your next step equal to, so root of 49 is a perfect square. So we can find its value straight away. So 1 plus or minus 7 all over 12. Then now you come and split. This means 1 plus 7 over 12 or 1 minus 7 over 12. So if you simplify this, this gives you the numerator 8 on 12. This gives you minus 6 on 12. But this can be reduced. So you cannot conclude with a fraction which is not in a reduced form. So again, you must conclude in the true set, sorry, solution set, because the question said so. Okay, so if you conclude in any other form, which is not the true set, you'll be marked down. And if you, I think this one too came to bear, okay, just came to mind. If you concluded this way, even with this one, if you conclude this way, you don't write therefore, and you come and write equal to, okay, and you write this 2, 3, or 3, 2 over 3, okay, then minus 1 over 2, okay. But for the equal to here, okay, you would have gotten the marks. What is equal to this? If you are drawing your conclusion, then you have to write therefore. And please, some of you write therefore equal to, as if you were asked to find therefore. So please, you can't write therefore is equal to. Take note. If you want to write your true set in the listing form, or your set in the listing form, please, you can write therefore, ignore this, then just write this. Just as so this will take the place of that, what we have here. So please take note. Okay, at the normal circumstance, we're supposed to write therefore the solution set is this, but the English will waste your time. So if you write therefore this, we know that this is a set and it's a solution set. Okay, so you've been concise and precise. Okay, that will be it for the B. Now let's go and look at what the C. Okay, like I told you, usually the method of completing of square, unless you are restricted. Okay, in this case, the C is restricted as to use that method. Don't use it because you can see that, okay, the steps involved a lot. You write a lot. Okay, so that's why I advise you to never be ideal for you to use the method of completing of square. So if you are not restricted, no matter how much you are in love with the method of completing of square, please don't use it. Okay, so now straight to, okay, the C. Again, you extract. Okay, with the method of completing of square, we said the first step is to isolate the variable terms. So with this one, you are not going to move all the terms to that side. You move, okay, one variable term which is here to this side, so that all the variable terms will be on one side, then your constant on the other side. So first step catered for. The next step is to make sure that the coefficient of s squared is 1. So it means here the coefficient of s squared is not 1. We have to divide through by 6. And because one side contains more than a term, you can do your division by 6 mentally. So this 1 over 6, the 6 will go s squared. Okay, so you'll be left with s squared. Then minus this over 6 will give you 1 over 6x. This over 6 will give you 2 over 6, which will give you 1 over 3. So that gives us the result, or explains, okay, the result that we have here. Then now, after you've done this, okay, make sure that the coefficient of s squared is what? 1. We have to go and find half the coefficient of x, then we square it and add it to both sides. So if you look at the coefficient of x here, it is minus. You can do that as your rough work. If you can do it mentally too, it's allowed. If you are mature, then you can say that I did mine mentally. So I have minus 1 over 6, which is the coefficient of x. Half of that will be, it will be times half. Okay, which will give us what? Minus 1 on what? On 12. Okay, so it's this quantity that you are going to square and you add it to both sides. Remember the advice, when you are adding it to this side, okay, don't, okay, deal with the, push the power inside. Let it be of this form. It's this side that you can deal with the power and maybe write it as what, 1 over 144. Okay, or in substitute that. But this side, remember the advice. I told you not to do so. Advise you. This side should always be like this. Okay, so that you see the quantities that you put together and put the square. So now, if this point is clear, you know you add what? This quantity to both sides because it's an equation. So by adding half the coefficient of s squared, okay, to this side becomes a perfect square trinomial, which will factorize into root of what? This one square, so you write it x. Then this one root square, so that will give us this. Or I said the two quantities, extreme quantities that you have the powers on the 2 on it. Put them together. So the quantities will be x, then minus 1 on 12. So you put them together in a bracket, then you put a square on it. That will give you the factorized, okay, form of the perfect square trinomial. And this will give us 1 over 3 plus, okay, now you push in the power. So that will give us, okay, 1 on what? 144. So at this point, what do? You come and simplify this side. Okay, then you take the square roots of both sides. And when you are taking the square roots of both sides, remember, this side must have plus or minus. Because when you have the solution to a quadratic, okay, equation, you can get a positive result or a negative result. It shouldn't really be positive or strictly negative. So you introduce plus or negative. Again, let me address a concern here. This time around, I will be lenient if you are one of those who did that. If you are writing your plus or minus, please take note. You don't write your plus or minus here. Okay, you will be writing in lines. So maybe you are using two lines for your fraction. So it should be root of, let your plus or minus be on the line. Your plus or minus is not an index, so it shouldn't be here. Okay, take note of that. So if you were one of those who did, I'm going to be lenient this time round. Otherwise, it should have been M0, A0. So take note of that. Next time, I will not. Okay, so now after you've taken the square root of both sides, the square root will get rid of the square. So you'll be left with only what you have in the under the radical or in bracket here, but the bracket will not be necessary. Then plus or minus, if you take the square root of this, the numerator is a perfect square, denominator is also a perfect square. So that gives us 7, okay, over what? Over 12. Root of 49 over root of 144, which will give us this. Your calculator can even guide you, help you at this point. So now, okay, we've gone beyond this. So the next step, you write x will be equal to, you are looking for s, you move this one to this side. And like I advise, always, okay, let the plus or minus, okay, that you have here be the second term. So when you move this one, let it always be the first term, the one that you move, the first term on this side. So if you move, you are going to get 1 over 12 plus or minus, okay, what we have here. Then this, because the denominators are the same, I know that I can write this as my LCM will be 12, okay, then my numerator will be exactly to the 1 plus or minus 7. Okay, then at this point again, you are going to get 1 plus 7 over 12 or 1 minus 7 over 12. Okay, simplify this, which will give us what we have here. Then this can be reduced. So you do your reduction in your conclusion. Okay, or if you did your reduction here, you can see that there is no marks for that. Okay, it's just a way. So you do your reduction or simplification in, okay, your conclusion. So therefore, you, okay, draw your conclusion this way, just as you were advised. So that would be it for solution to question 1. Okay, so now let's go and look at that of what question 2. So each, you can see that question 1, A, okay, 10 marks, B, 10 marks, C, also 10 marks. Okay, so far we have 30 marks for question 1. Now let's go and look at question 2. Okay, question 2, also a very easy question. So let's see, find a quadratic equation. So here we know that we are supposed to find a quadratic equation. So you underline this. So it means until you have a quadratic equation, your result is a quadratic equation, you don't end. Okay, whose roots are? So now you know how to proceed from here. Again, after you've underlined the salient parts, the next thing that you write is the solution. You need to write solution first before the question number will come in. So here you have only a major number and you have to extract the information there. And like I advise, don't just write giving this. what you have here, to be more specific, you know you are talking about the root. So you write given root, okay, will be equal to what you have there. Then now you are going to assume your equation is in x. So you write let. So let x be equal to the first, okay, root, or okay, the second root that we have here. Then after that, what do we do? Okay, we come and you know we are going backwards. So I told you, clear the fraction. Always make sure before you move this one to the side, what you have here, the denominator will be 1, and this one to the denominator. So for your denominator to be 1, you have to cross multiply. So this will give us 2x is equal to minus 1. If you cross multiply, this will give us 3x is equal to 2. Now you can move it to this side. So if you move, you get 2x plus 1. You can see that I've made sure that nothing is interfering with the all. So at the normal circumstance, we should have put all here. So because nothing is interfering, it's simply understood to be there. So this one too, you move, that will give you this, okay, is equal to 0. Then at this point, you can see that you are dealing with a zero product rule. So with this and this, okay, will come and multiply and is equal to what? 0. So now you expand and you combine like term. So if you expand and you combine like term, where you combine your like term will give you your final equation that we are looking for. Okay, so at this point, you can draw your conclusion. So with this one, the total marks will be 5 for question 2. Okay, so in all, the grand total will be 35 marks. So please take note. Okay, and again, take note. If you mark your score, always indicate your score over the total score. So if you had 35, don't just write 35. Write 35 over 35. If you had 30, write 30 over 35. Always let us see the denominator, okay, which is the total, okay, score. And you should indicate that on top of your first page, and you are supposed to capture your marked version and send it to me. Okay, marked version, I will equally go through and check whether you did, okay, meticulous what marking. All right, so at this point, okay, thank you very much. Okay, God bless us all.